Today, I'm going over the section in Chapter 10 called The End of Sickness. All magic is an attempt at reconciling the unreconcilable. All religion is the recognition that the irreconcilable cannot be reconciled. So magic is anything of the ego, of the world, and we use magic like religion, like medicine as an example, in an attempt to reconcile what is irreconcilable. And he's using religion as an example of how it doesn't work. Sickness and perfection are irreconcilable. If God created you perfect, you are perfect. If you believe you can be sick, you have placed other gods before him. God is not at war with the God of sickness you made, but you are. So there is no actual war going on. There is no actual battle between ego and spirit happening. It's just us. We're the only one who is confused. God's not confused. Our real true spirit self is not confused. Only our ego self is confused. So we have chosen sickness. We have chosen to project this world from our mind. He is the symbol of deciding against God, and you are afraid of him because he cannot be reconciled with God's will. If you attack him, you will make him real to you. But if you refuse to worship him in whatever form he may appear to you, and whenever you think you see him, he will disappear into the nothingness out of which he was made. So these are all just words to talk about denying the ego, to not look at it, to not acknowledge it. The only reason it has any power over us is because we keep looking at it and acknowledging it and treating it as if it were real. So he's always telling us, stop doing that. Reality can dawn only on an unclouded mind. That's a mind that knows that it is spirit, that is seeing clearly what it truly is. It is always there to be accepted, but its acceptance depends on your willingness to have it. To know reality must involve the willingness to judge unreality for what it is, right? We have to know to deny the ego so that we can reinforce our truth as spirit. To overlook nothingness is merely to judge correctly, right? When we overlook the world, when we overlook the ego's perception, we are judging correctly. And because of your ability to evaluate it truly, to let it go. We let the ego go when we don't acknowledge it. And we choose to not acknowledge it because we have evaluated it truly. Knowledge cannot dawn on a mind full of illusions because truth and illusions are irreconcilable, right? They can't both exist, truth and illusions. Only one really exists, and that's spirit. Truth is whole and cannot be known by part of a mind. The sonship cannot be perceived as partly sick because to perceive it that way is not to perceive it at all. Okay, we can't just see parts of things. Only the wholeness is real. So the ego is completely false and spirit is completely real. If the sonship is one, it is one in all respects, right? There's no parts. Nothing's divided. There's only the wholeness. And only the whole truth is real. Oneness cannot be divided. If you perceive other gods, your mind is split, and you will not be able to limit the split because it is the sign that you have removed part of your mind from God's will. This means it is out of control. To be out of control is to be out of reason. And then the mind does become unreasonable. By defining the mind wrongly, you perceive it as functioning wrongly. Okay, so he keeps explaining that there are no parts, there is only whole, and ego is wholly false, and spirit is wholly true. And anytime we try to see things in parts and not accept the truth that I just explained, then we are sick. Our mind is sick. We cannot reconcile what is false and what is true. They are irreconcilable. And he's telling us that we are out of control. Our mind is out of control when we are trying to do this, when we have a split mind, when we are trying to make the world a little bit real and spirit a little bit real, or spirit not at all real and the world totally real. We are out of control. Our mind is sick when we are perceiving that way and believing that. God's laws will keep your mind at peace because peace is his will and his laws established to uphold it. His are the laws of freedom, but yours are the laws of bondage, right? Spirit is freedom and ego is bondage. Since freedom and bondage are irreconcilable, their laws cannot be understood together. More ways of telling us that both cannot exist. The laws of God work only for your good, and there are no other laws besides his. Everything else is merely lawless and therefore chaotic. All right, more words to describe the ego. Lawless, chaotic, wrong, sick, and spirit is the exact opposite. Yet God himself has protected everything he created by his laws. Everything that is not under them does not exist. Nothing but God exists. And we are God. We are one with God. We are spirit, just like God. Laws of chaos is a meaningless term. Creation is perfectly lawful, and the chaotic is without meaning because it is without God. And the chaotic is the ego. The ego is without God. You have given your peace to the gods you made, but they are not there to take it from you, and you cannot give it to them. He's talking about the ego. The gods that we have given to is the ego, and we cannot share, we cannot exchange when it comes to the ego. Sharing and exchanging can only happen when it comes to practicing forgiveness, when it comes to spirit, when it comes to acknowledging who and what we and everyone else are. You are not free to give up freedom, but only to deny it. You cannot do what God did not intend, because what he did not intend does not happen. And that's because this world has never happened, okay? And God never intended this world. Your gods do not bring chaos. You are endowing them with chaos, and you accept it of them, right? We made the ego, we made the chaos. All this has never been. The world has never been. Nothing but the laws of God has ever been, and nothing of his will ever be. You were created through his laws and by his will. And the manner of your creation established you a creator, right? We are just like God. We create exactly the same as God. That's what God wanted. And how do we create? We create by forgiving, by looking upon the world and knowing that it is all spirit. That is how we create. What you have made is so unworthy of you that you could hardly want it if you were willing to see it as it is. If we saw the ego for what it really is, we wouldn't want it. If we understood where this world was really coming from, we wouldn't want it. You will see nothing at all, and your vision will automatically look beyond it to what is in you and all around you. Okay, so this is what Jesus is teaching us to do, to see nothing. When we look out into the world, to know that it's nothing, to know that it's just ego illusion. And instead, when we look out into the world, to see truth, to see spirit everywhere. That's what he means by what is in you and what is all around you. What's in us and all around us is spirit. When we identify with that, then we are perceiving correctly. Reality cannot break through the obstructions you interpose, but it will envelop you completely when you let them go. All right. So our true reality is not going to come in and battle with the ego and try to beat the ego and win. It doesn't work that way. We have to let go of what is false. We have to let go of the ego. And then spirit comes rushing in to show us who and what we really are. Because we were that all along. We were never not that. We were just blocking it out. So when we block it out, we're not willing to see who and what we really are. When you have experienced the protection of God, the making of idols becomes inconceivable. So the making of idols is the ego. Anything of the ego world is a making of an idol. But when we let that go and spirit comes in, and that is our identity, we know what to correctly identify with, then we will experience God's protection, because we will be experiencing who and what we really are. It doesn't mean God's protection in the false world. The world's not even there. Our protection is coming from the fact that we are not these bodies and that the world is not real. In truth, we can never die, we can never be harmed, and we are always protected by God. There are no strange images in the mind of God, and what is not in his mind cannot be in yours, because you are of one mind, and that mind belongs to him. It is yours because it belongs to him. For to him, ownership is sharing, right? He always shares his love with us. He's always sharing his protection with us. He's always sharing his love and oneness with us. And if it is so for him, it is so for you. His definitions are his laws, for by them he established the universe as what it is. No false gods you attempt to interpose between yourself and your reality affect truth at all. Peace is yours because God created you, and he created nothing else. So when it says he established the universe as what it is, it doesn't mean this physical reality, because that is false. That is of the ego. What he means is that the universe is really just spirit. Nothing is there except spirit. Nothing is anywhere except spirit. There is no there to be. There is no space. There is no time. None of it exists. There's just the one now moment extending love eternally. That is what we really are. That's what God is. We are one with God. That is our truth. That is what he's teaching us here. And he's showing us that the way to awaken to that truth is to keep practicing this truth in our mind. That whenever we can remember to change who we are identifying with. And remember, time doesn't exist, so we can always go back in the past, whether it be 20 seconds ago or 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. We can always go back in the past and forgive the situation, forgive it for never having existed. The more that we can do that, and the more that we can then reinforce that everyone and everything is spirit, that everyone and everything is the innocent child of God, the more peace we will feel, and the more that we will identify with our truth. And that allows us to awaken from the dream. The miracle is the act of a son of God who has laid aside all false gods and calls on his brothers to do likewise. All false gods means the world, anything of the world. So the miracle is when we do not acknowledge the world as being real. Those are the false gods. And instead, we reinforce spirit. That's the miracle. It is an act of faith because it is the recognition that his brother can do it. It is a call to the Holy Spirit in his mind, a call that is strengthened by joining. So when we're forgiving others, they're not going to consciously know what's happening, but deep in their mind, they will. Why? Because all minds are joined. There's only one of us. So every time we practice forgiveness and we see a brother as light, as spirit, as love, their unconscious mind hears this message, and that helps our brothers to awaken. It's also helping us to awaken in that moment that we're doing that, because it reinforces that we are also spirit, light, love. That's the sharing he's talking about. Because the miracle worker has heard God's voice, he strengthens it in a sick brother by weakening his belief in sickness, which he does not share. More fancy words to talk about what practicing forgiveness does. Because the miracle worker has heard God's voice, so that's when we remember who we are. God's voice is Holy Spirit. He strengthens it in a sick brother by weakening his belief in sickness. He strengthens it in a sick brother by weakening his belief in sickness. It means that we are strengthening the sickness when we see others as ego. The power of one mind can shine into another because all the lamps of God were lit by the same spark. It is everywhere and it is eternal. Beautiful words to let us know that we are all one. We are all coming from the same spark, the same light of God. In many, only the spark remains, for the great rays are obscured. Okay, so we all have that little spark, that little light inside of us that is our truth, that is the reality of who we are, that comes from God. But we have blocked out all the great rays, right? We only still have the little spark because we're believing in this world. We're believing that we are ego. If we knew our truth, we would have great rays of light coming from us. But right now, when we're believing in this false world, we have blocked those great rays of light. They are obscured. Yet God has kept the spark alive so that the rays can never be completely forgotten, right? That's Holy Spirit. If you but see the little spark, you will learn of the greater light, for the rays are there unseen. So he's letting us know that if we focus on that little spark, that light will get brighter and brighter and brighter. Perceiving the spark will heal, but knowing the light will create. Oh, that's so powerful and so beautiful. So perceiving the spark will heal means if we see that little light in us and in everyone else, then we are healing our sick mind. But knowing the light will create. So once we have perceived the spark over and over and over and over again, eventually we come into knowledge. Then we know the light. We don't have to keep perceiving. Perceiving only happens in the world of sickness. But when we know it, and we fully are identified with our spirit self, then we can create, just like God does, by sharing love, by extending love. Yet in the returning, the little light must be acknowledged first, for the separation was a descent from magnitude into littleness. So he's reminding us that because we think we're here in this world, we have to focus on that little spark. Because we've taken this great journey from magnitude into littleness, right? We descended down into darkness. So we have to keep practicing by focusing on the little light. That's perceiving correctly. That's perceiving spirit within the illusory world. He's just describing that we need to keep practicing forgiveness to be able to awaken. But the spark is still as pure as the great light because it is the remaining call of creation. Put all your faith in it, and God himself will answer you. Beautiful words to remind us once again that that little spark is the same as the bright light. We've just obscured most of the rays. So if we keep our faith in God, keep our faith in spirit, keep practicing forgiveness, God will answer us. And what does that mean? We will awaken into God because that is who and what we truly are.